Steve Bannon, President Trump's former chief strategist, on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landslide victory. Hello, Mr. Steve Bannon. Firstly, thank you so much for giving time to the Indian media. Today is the day of a landslide victory of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and I hope that you have heard this big news, coming from India. How do you look at as a advisor to President Donald Trump in US? How do you look at this emergence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a world leader? Affecting India and US relations?
Look, I think Modi is one of the most important leaders on the world stage, and I think that this landslide victory of his for a second term really puts him in a very special position, very special category. Through the good works of Shalli, we've been able to follow Modi since really the very early days. In fact, Shalli's the one that came to us and started talking about Modi as Ronald Reagan. I'm very proud of the fact that Breitbart News was the first news organization that really talked about Modi as the new Reagan. And this landslide victory was very analogous to Ronald Reagan's second term victory. It was the biggest landslide in American history. So I believe that this landslide victory is not just reinforcing Modi in Indian politics, but I think has now raised him to a whole nother stage in world politics, where people know that not only is he the head of India, one of the most powerful nations in the world, but that he's got the mandate from the Indian people to continue on with his policies and his practices. Modi won this campaign. He called himself the Watchman. One of the reasons I think he's a watchman is between China, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka in the radicalization of the ISIS, caliphate. So, we're going very difficult times, very troubling times, but I think President Trump has a very clear game plan. I believe that India and Modi are going to be central to that, and that Modi is going to be one of the central leaders. And I think Modi is here in this time in history because India is one of the most powerful nations on earth and the world's largest democracy, and that's why it's so amazing this election you just went through. The world's largest democracy is partnership with the world's most powerful democracy, and that would be the United States. And it's very important that we make this work, and that's why I think it's a blessing for Modi to have won in the scale, in the style that he won in. You can see in One Belt One Road, they've directly challenged India with One Belt One Road. That is a direct challenge to India to try to tie in the Eurasian landmass. We had Shalli came into our studio in New York at Sirius XM, which is the largest radio network in the United States. I remember we would have him in our studio in New York talking specifically about this topic, even before we got into the campaign of Trump, to talk about how Modi had really set a template, very Reagan-esque, about the economy, about national defense, and basically the way he related to the middle class and to the working class. And so Shalli was the one that brought that to our attention, and that was as early as January of 13, which is several years before even Trump came on the scene. So Modi is just, I think, set an incredible standard, high standard for how a politician should comport himself. No, it's very important. Shalli put on an event for us towards the end of the campaign. It's one of the most powerful events we had and was able to energize us in driving forward. But if you look at those upper Midwest states, in fact, we're going to do something with Shalli, not related to the campaign, but related to China, with the Hindu American Association in late June in Illinois. But it's to get the word out to those Midwest states. This upper Midwest is where the presidential election in 2020 is going to be decided there. Joe Biden launched his campaign in Pennsylvania. Bernie Sanders launched his campaign in Iowa. Everybody understands that those 5 or 6 states is where this is going to be decided. They're going to be all over it. You can't win this one unless you've got the Hindu American and the Hindu Republican alliance as a partner like we had last time. So Shalli, who's much more experienced in politics than I am, will tell you, this is going to be, if 16 was tough, this is going to be even tougher.
Okay, lastly, a personal question. I'm told you are an avid reader of the Bhagavad Gita. You follow the Hindu philosophy. I'm very curious to know What got you so interested in Hindu mythology?
Yes, that's true. One of the most powerful books that I'm a Roman Catholic and a devout Catholic. I try to be as devout as I can. I'm a practicing Catholic. But one of the most powerful books as a young person I read was a book by a Frenchman called Man and His Becoming According to the Vedanta. And that got me very interested in Hindu spirituality and the study of Hindu religions. And there's another book by a German professor called The Philosophy of India by a professor named, I believe his name was Zimmer, who wrote this book in the 1930s or 1940s. Had a very powerful impact on me. So I've studied to the degree that one can study. I've taken a lot of time over my life to study Hindu spirituality.